I said, what's your idea? I want to start taking the waste out of the ocean with the help of the fishermen. I went fishing and I was in shock.
Today's guest is Javier Goyeneche, a lifelong entrepreneur and the founder of ECOALF, a fashion brand which collaborates with over 4,000 fishermen along the Mediterranean to collect waste from the bottom of the ocean and turn it into premium clothing.
Upcycling the oceans is probably the project I'm more proud of. I mean, you have these 5,000 fishermen and they're all taking the waste with a heart. Right now, I think we're collecting probably like 3 football stadiums full of waste every year. The technology exists, we can do it. ECOALF can show you that it's possible.
So what does the future of upcycling the oceans look like, and how does it connect to ECOALF long-term vision?
Upcycling the oceans is probably the project I'm more proud of. And I think the company, I think it's like the heart of the company. And this has started like many things by accident. So we had been recycling fishing nets for many years in Korea. And one day, the government of Pays Basque, here in the north of Spain, phoned us. We were very small. We was beginning of 2014. We were like 4 people in the company. And we were selling very, very little. But we made quite a lot of noise in the press because we were recycling materials which people, wow, how come these guys recycle this or that? And they said, I've read you're recycling nets. I said, yes. I said, but why do you recycle in Korea? I said, well, because I found the technology to convert those fishing nets into the polymer I need in Seoul. Okay, well, why don't we start a project in Spain? Because there's a lot of nets in Spain. I said, okay. So we started a project in Spain, and one day going to a port to see how many nets of nylon 6 were available, because there's nets of many different materials, a fisherman told me, Javier, you should come out and fish with me and see how much waste get caught in the nets every time we go fishing. So I said, okay, I'll cancel my meetings tomorrow. Let's go fishing. I went fishing and I was in shock. Mixed with the fish, every time they pull up the nets, unfortunately, there's a lot of waste, no? So we feel the oceans are clean, but unfortunately, when a plastic bottle doesn't have a cup full of water, goes down. Aluminum can full down. Bottom has much more waste than we can imagine. So I came back to the office and I said, I want to start taking the waste from the bottom of the ocean. And at that point, the board said, no, Javier, no. We have a lot of work in land. You have a lot of waste in land. We're only 4 people. Let's stay focused. We don't have resources. And I said, okay, what happens if I find the resources? They said, well, if you find the resources, okay. No, I guess they imagine I was not going to find the resources. But when I had been looking for investors for ECOALF, I had met this amazing man, Henry Pincus in New York, which after telling him what I wanted to do with ECOALF, he looked at me and said, you know what, Javier? I really don't like fashion. I love the oceans. And I would like to do projects related with the ocean. I said, oh, okay, Henry, pues thank you very much for the time. Goodbye. So I remember that. I phoned Henry. Henry, do you remember? Yes. How are you doing? Did you finally launch ECOALF? I said, yes, it's fun. And so what do you want? I said, well, do you still want to do things with the ocean? He said, yes.
Yeah.
I have an idea. I said, what's your idea? I want to start taking the waste out of the ocean with the help of the fishermen. And he said, what do you need? I said, money. And he said, how much? And I said, 100,000. I said, only? I said, yeah. Just want to put some containers in the ports, in the boats, take that waste. Yeah, in Spain. So he said, create.
In
Alicante. So he said, create ECOALF Foundation and I will send you the money for the first 3 years. So that's how we started. We convinced 3 fishermen from a little port in Alicante in Villajoyosa to let us put that container, and all that waste that gets collected, instead of throwing back to the ocean, they'll put it in the container and take it to the port. And now, was I think 10 years after, I think we're in 82 ports. I think we're in 14 in France.
Spain, Greece,
16
Italy.
in Greece, 43 in Spain, Italy, Egypt, etc. We're working with over 5,000 fishermen.
But it's a volunteer.
That's a great point. That's amazing because I mean, you have these 5,000 fishermen and they're all taking the waste with a heart. And when the project started, there had been a pilot test made by the European community. I think it was called Fish for Litter or something like that, where apparently they paid the fishermen for every kilo of waste they took out from the bottom of the ocean. Apparently, they did a trial test with one port in France, and they found some fishermen bringing waste from the houses, claiming it was from the ocean. So the program was a disaster. which stopped a few months after. So when the fishermen started asking me, Javier, are you going to pay me? I said, no, do whatever you think is right. If you think the right thing to do is to throw it back into the ocean, okay, throw it back into the ocean. If you think the right thing to do is to put in a container, I will give you the container and you will take it to the port. And to be honest, people say, how have you convinced 5,000 fishermen to do this? But to be honest, quite simple. So when you meet the fishermen, you feel they love the ocean. They're the first ones concerned. The only thing has been quite intensive in time. So you don't convince a fisherman by WhatsApp or by email. They have to go to the port. They have to meet you. You have to invite them to a beer, a lot of beers. You have to drink with them. And then they start knowing you and then they start supporting. In France, it took us 3 years to sign the first port.
Where are you based? Marseille?
As in Lorient.
Lorient.
I mean, they were saying, okay, this Spanish guy, what is he doing here? So why don't we take the waste out of the ocean for him for free? So one visit, two visits, three visits. And then there was the second port, the third port, fourth port. And then the ports start phoning you because they start talking between us. And these guys are serious. They collect the waste every week. We have total traceability. And then they start phoning. I felt that was what I wanted to do. And I wanted to work much more around sustainability. And at one point I decided, okay, why don't you, I mean, you know something about fashion, you love sustainability, why don't you try to create a sustainable fashion brand, no? And that's how ECOALF starts in 2009. And right now, I think we're collecting probably like 3 football stadiums full of waste every year. And 68% of that waste goes back into the system. All the aluminum, polypropylene, polyethylene, glass, etc. Unfortunately, there's 32% which has to go into landfill.
So I'm so curious about the process. How do you turn ocean plastic into premium yarn for fashion? What are the steps?
We take all that waste to 5 categorization plants. There we separate the glass from the polypropylene, from the aluminum, from the PET bottle, from the shoe, whatever. And with the PET bottles, we separate them and we convert them into flake, pellet, yarn, fabric, and product. I thought at that point that the most sustainable thing to do was not to keep on using natural resources. So recycling could be a solution. No? We're able to make like a new generation of recycled products with the same quality and design as the best non-recycled. Basically, everything you're wearing used to be waste a few months ago, and everything I'm wearing used to be waste a few months ago. So the philosophy was, okay, let's try to create this new type of clothing without using any more natural resources. No? And it was all about recycling. So we started recycling with a lot of plastic bottles and fishing nets and used T-shirts, and that's how the company started.
But at this time, I think you didn't know nothing about textile innovation or recycling at that time. So
no, I had no idea.
How did you do?
So I started traveling around the world to see who was recycling around the world. I found this amazing woman south of Taichung, 2 hours from Taipei, who was recycling plastic bottles to create carpets. She had a lot of sensibility. Then I heard there was a company in Korea recycling used fishing nets of nylon 6. Then I heard there was this company in Taiwan recycling the old coffee grounds, the leftovers of the coffee. Then I heard, so I started traveling and I started developing fabrics with them. So it took us 3 years to launch the company. The company was finally launched in 2013.
And at this time, do you see ECOALF as a fashion brand or as a vehicle for education and activism?
I think it's both, no? I think obviously it's a fashion brand. And obviously, I think we have a purpose which goes way beyond being a fashion brand. We always tend to say that ECOALF is a very small company, so we're not going to be able to change the industry. I mean, to change the industry, we need the big players. We need the big companies. We need the companies with resources, with volume to really make an impact. But ECOALF can show you that it's possible. It's possible to have a 78% of the company being monomaterial and they're ready to be recycled again and be 100% circular. It's possible to do many things. It's just obviously more complicated. It's more expensive. You lose margin. Your life is not so easy, but it's possible.
And are you open to make maybe some future collaboration, partnership with other global fashion brands to have a huge impact?
We've done already a lot of collaborations, and we're always open to do collaborations which have sense. So to do a collaboration because of a marketing purpose for us has no sense. It has to be a collaboration with a brand we feel both of us together are better than alone. So we can do something. I can bring something to the table. You can bring something to the table, and the result is something better than each of us alone.
And then, so back in 2009, as an entrepreneur, what was the biggest resistance or skepticism you faced when presenting the concept of recycled fashion with ECOALF?
2009, at least in Spain, sustainability was not very cool. So sustainability was it was a bit hippie.
The trend.
It was not a trend. It was a bit hippie. It was synonym of poor design, and recycling was even worse because recycling was even people thought of recycling like bad quality. No, people were thinking you were going to take the old blanket of your grandmother to make a backpack, and no, this
And
was
we
about
didn't talk about circular economy at this time.
nobody was talking about circular economy. No one was talking about the oceans. No one was talking about microplastic. No one is talking about climate change, carbon emissions, the usage of water. Then, with the years, people started talking about that, so it was much better. I think the more you get into the ocean, the more you feel that the ocean, for many people, is just a big landfill where you can throw anything you want. So you can see, in the Atlantic, 7 kilometers of used tires. You can see in front of the coast of Messina a huge landfill where you can find refrigerators, cars, motorcycles. You have all over the place. It doesn't matter if you go to Southeast Asia or South America. People just throw. And also people are just throwing a lot to the rivers. And the rivers are throwing, they're like a big tube throwing. Now they say a ton of 16 tons of waste is coming into the ocean every minute.
Do you think that we don't have enough education regarding that, or people just doesn't care?
I think it's a combination. I think obviously there's a lack of education, no? And we always say at ECOALF that we take too much time worrying about what kind of planet are we going to leave to our kids, and we should be much more worried with what kind of kids are we going to leave to the planet, no? Yeah, because that has a lot to do with education. If the new generation has everything clear, then the planet has nothing to worry about, no? But also, if you see Southeast Asia, for example, you see it's those rivers which go along many, many cities, and we've given them all the containers and the cans and the bottles, but they don't have a truck to collect. So the river is the truck, is the waste truck. So everything they throw there. So I think it's a combination of education, of lack of responsibility, of governments which are not doing their job, legislators. I think it's a mix of many things.
I would like to know as well if have governments ever supported you the last maybe 10 years?
To be honest, very little. We've tried.
With the Spanish government?
The only time I was contacted by the Spanish government, which wasn't the Spanish government, it was the government of La Comunidad de Valencia, which were all the ports of Alicante, Valencia, which we were working there with 20 ports. They phoned me and said, we want to see you. We know where you're collecting a lot of waste here. We should be charging you with a tax. I said, what? Yeah, we should be charging you with a tax because you're bringing waste back into the land. And I said, this is a joke.
Yeah.
No? So I'm cleaning your beaches, no? So luckily, we never received that tax, no? But it was unbelievable, no?
When was it?
Pues this was like probably in 2017, no? They were like saying, we're doing you a favor, because you should be paying a tax. And we were collecting hundreds and hundreds of tons from a place which is touristic, by the way, no? Because Spain is very touristic. And then we've tried with Europe, I don't know, 5-6 times to present a project to scale upcycling the ocean.
Yeah, sure.
It was something real. You could come and see it. We're already operating in 20 ports or 30 ports. So we said, okay, why don't we bring it to all the ports in the Mediterranean? And we do like a massive cleanup in the Mediterranean with people from Greece, Spain, France, Italy, Egypt, everywhere.
Greece, yeah.
We could be working with 500 ports and collecting thousands of tons. And I'm not sure we're going to clean the ocean, but we could create such an amazing awareness of fishermen from all nationalities working together for free with their heart, just to bring a message out.
And
we've never been able.
Why?
I don't know. We never got the punctuation we needed.
What people told you about this idea?
No, people love the idea. It was funny because we were receiving phone calls from the European community every month to go and explain the project and go to talks and to panels and to give talks. But every time we presented a project to say, okay, why don't we make this big in the Mediterranean? And this is real. You can go to the ports, you can see 68% of the waste is going back into the system, is circular. You have total traceability, everything. It's just a replication.
Yeah.
And we never, I don't know, perhaps we're not good at presenting projects. And I think it connects very much, no? I always tend to say I have like two hats, no? It's like the ECOALF hat and the ECOALF Foundation hat, no? And they're very connected, no? Because at ECOALF, we've always tried to be a story-doing company. So we want to do projects. We don't want to tell you there's a problem in the ocean. We want to be part of the solution. Obviously, we would like to be taking out, instead of 400 tons of waste, 800 tons of waste every year. You know what? 400 tons of waste, it's a few football stadiums, which are not anymore in the ocean, no? And which then don't convert into microplastic, and the fish don't eat. So I think they have to be linked. For us, the company needs those kind of projects for ourselves, no? To feel we are part of the solution, no? We've always thought of being sustainable as much more than using a sustainable fabric. So it has to be much more, no? It's how you produce, where do you produce, of course, the material you produce. Is the item you're producing ready to be circular again? I mean, to have nearly 80% of the collection monomaterial is a huge effort for the designers. So it's much easier to mix polyester with cotton. You have much more textures, or polyester with this, or nylon with this. At the end, it limits you a lot, no? We are launching now the new denim collection, no? In a few months. And for us, it was all about ticking the different boxes, no? And one of them is to have a product which is 100% circular. So we know we cannot put any elastan in the denim, no? And people won't buy it, because at the end, people like elastic things, no? But bueno, we are what we are, and we want to sell with and we want our product to be ready to be circular at the end of the life cycle, no? And then that gives us a lot. Also, the philosophy. We don't believe in promotions. We don't believe in Black Friday. We don't believe in creating unnecessary buyings which you don't need, no? And we believe that those continued promotions incentivize you to buy things you don't need, no? So we try to be, no, as coherent as possible with all our mentality.
I would like to know, what is your point of view regarding the fast fashion, Javier?
I think that, unfortunately, fashion, it's in many ways a beautiful industry, but fashion cannot just be about looking good. I think it has to be also about doing what is right and feeling good about it, no?
But don't you think it's a complicated debate, because it's also about accessibility. So yeah, I would like to have your point of view regarding this.
I think there's two. You're right. So I think, for me, the problem with the fashion industry is that for the last decades, it's been governed by this buying, throwing, a new trend every week, discount promotion, which is creating billions of garments going to landfill every year. That's a disaster. Of course, to have accessibility for people, it's fantastic. But then, so I work in Gran Via, in the middle of Madrid, where we have all these huge stores. And you see the young people coming out, and they come out with 2 bags with 20 items. So it's not about, okay, I need the garments to be very accessible because I don't have much money, you know. It's about quantity. People like quantity instead of quality right now. They want to have a lot. And when I talk with young people, and they say, buy less. You don't need so many t-shirts. You don't need so many trousers. So I think we can buy less with more quality, more durability, with a timeless design. And at the end of the day, that's going to make and products which leave a footprint in the world which you feel comfortable with, no?
Many companies now pledge to be net zero by 2050. How much of that is real progress versus marketing? What do you think about that?
We have the commitment to be 2030,
Yeah.
which is
What do
even
you see
harder,
ECOALF
no?
by
Because
2030?
that's a commitment of all B Corp organizations, no? We are already net positive in tier 1 and tier 2 since 2021. Tier 3, it's more complicated because we also depend on all our supply chain. So at the end of the day, if we want to be net zero in 2030, we need our supply chain to be aligned with us in those goals, which is a complicated thing now because we have to start preparing with a lot of our supply chain partners to say, okay, you guys, if you want to keep on working with ECOALF, you need to be part of this change and you need to make the investments to make this possible. No? But we also have a responsibility for that because, I was a few months ago in Hong Kong and I was in a panel and the guy sitting next to me, which is probably the CEO of one of the biggest production companies in the world. I cannot produce with them because we're too small. No? But he was very nice. He invited me to dinner. He said, well, come to my office tomorrow, I invite you to dinner. So when I was coming in his office, there was a guy coming out. And I had no idea who he was. And when he did dinner, he said, who was that guy who was coming in? I said, no idea. So this is the head buyer of super group, big group, which has been coming here for the last 10 years every year. And every year he needs to buy the t-shirt cheaper than the year before because that's his bonus, that's his work. But at the end of the day, these guys want to buy cheaper every year, but they want us to do a lot of commitments in terms of renewable energy, treatment of the water, recycling the waste, etc. No? So if we want the supply chain to be aligned with those goals, we need to leave them margin, and we cannot ask them to a better and better price every year because then they don't have resources to really invest.
Now, let's talk about Ghana, if you want. This is another place that is so shocking in the landfill. Can you tell us a bit about it and how it is relevant for us here today to talk about in Ghana?
We always do campaigns against Black Friday. It's not that we don't do Black Friday, it's that we do campaigns against them. No? Last year we went to Atacama, which was also shocking to see, how hundreds of containers are thrown into the desert every day full of garments, coming from all over the world. This year we're going to Ghana, which is even more shocking because it's in the beaches near the ocean. So a lot of that waste is going into the ocean. And unfortunately, we saw it last year, I think with 3 big companies, claiming to please give me your garment bags, we will recycle them. And Greenpeace, they put 3 trackers on those 3 pieces. And those 3 pieces appeared in Ghana in less than 1 month. None of those 3 pieces were recycled.
From where?
From Spain, but those 3 were Spain.
So from Europe?
Yeah, from Europe to Ghana. So that's very worrying because of, first of all, because of a communication which is not real. Second of all, because they're finishing up. So we're taking the garments to different countries, which we pay them to receive those garments and which are thrown into landfills. And this has a lot to do with this way of consuming, which has no sense.
How do you ensure that ECOALF clothing, even after it's worn out, doesn't end up polluting rivers or ocean?
That is different to control. At the end of the day, if somebody buys an ECOALF garment and throws it in the river, pues it's very difficult to say, okay, to control. Now, what we are working very tough and for many years is eco-designing our garments. So if they are thrown and they are getting to a landfill, then they're ready to be recycled. That's why we work. Our obsession is to reach to 100% of our garments 100% monofilament. So then they're able to recycle, but not in a chemical recycle where you get a fiber good for construction, in a mechanical way. So you can do fiber to fiber and you can do another garment because that's where we want to go. I think we want to go to fiber to fiber. For us, if you recycle this shirt to convert it into a fiber for construction, that's downcycling for us. That's not upcycling. We like to get a used plastic bottle and create an amazing coat, or a used fishing net and do an amazing swimwear, or from a shirt to a shirt, or from a down jacket to a down jacket.
In 2022, by your foundation called Clean Rivers Save Oceans. What is this new project?
Now, this was started along with our partner, with Biotherm, cosmetic company. And they contacted us because they wanted to do something. They loved our ocean project. And we told them, you know what, we're concerned, why does this waste keep on coming into the ocean? So let's start working in the rivers. Because if we avoid that waste getting into the ocean, then the oceans will be cleaner, no? And we feel that 70% of the waste we collect in the ocean comes from the rivers. So that's how we started. So we did this trial project in Spain.
You team up with Biotherm from L'Oréal.
Yeah. No, we love teaming up with companies. No, they also have a program which is Sea Lovers, I think. So we did with them, and I think since then we've done, I think, 115 cleanups, and over 40.
In which areas?
Well, we started in a river near Madrid because it was easy for the teams of both companies to go. So every Friday we were doing a cleanup, and then a lot of companies are now joining up with their team. So we have a lot of companies going to help, and so like 115 cleanups and like 140 something restoration days. No? And now we've started to replicate this into Valencia, to another river, and now also to the zone of Barcelona. Now that the idea, and we're going to find a local partner in each place. So the idea, okay, this works, let's replicate it in the different rivers, which now really end up in the ocean.
So is it actually helping? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, everything helped. To be honest, now we are going to present the first data over the 5 years. And let's see, our sensation is mixed feelings. It's mixed feelings in a way because it's some parts we've cleaned and we've come back 2 years after and they're cleaner. And some places where we've cleaned, which we call like black holes, and you come back 1 year after and exactly as dirty.
With the same trash. Yeah.
Which is very frustrating.
Yeah.
So I think the data is the data. We'll see what happens. And we'll try to understand why some places are definitely kept cleaner and some places what you do has no effect. No? It's dirty again. So you have to probably work on the cause before. No?
What's a moment in your journey that you can call beautiful?
Many. I would say, look, every time I'm in a boat with a fisherman and I see when I talk with them and I see the way they talk about the ocean and how they're cleaning up, that for me is a beautiful project. When I dive, I think, you have the sensation of the ocean, no?
I'd like to know, when you're close to the ocean, do you feel more free, sometimes more exposed or emotional? What do you feel when you are underwater or just looking at the sea?
I think it's a mixed feelings. No? I think you feel free, no? I think you can
You feel small too?
You can feel, you feel
Very
small. You can feel the calm, no? I think you can feel that the world is a much more
It
calm
depends.
place.
When you face tiger sharks.
If you face the tiger shark, I won't face it because I won't be in the water, so I will see it from the boat. But I think more emotional than anything else. Yeah.
This is my personal question to you, Javier. Do you believe that the ocean has the power to heal us emotionally, mentally, maybe even spiritually?
First of all, I think something very important: the ocean has the power to heal himself, which
Is resilient.
Is resilient. Which that is, when you read about that, is probably one of the best things you can read. No, that there's hope. No, the ocean, if we leave it alone, it has a capacity to recover, which is unbelievable. No. So if he has the power to heal himself,
maybe he can
I
heal
think
us.
it can probably heal us if we listen, no, and if we look, no.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to make a business that's not just profitable but meaningful?
Right now, this may sound a bit hard, no, but to open another business, which is not done with certain criteria of purpose, of trying to improve what there's already is, of looking over the planet or the people or social, for me, has no sense. So the world already has millions
You
of
mean
business like this.
creating a business with no purpose? It's totally nonsense.
For me, yes. So I would say, I mean, for me, a product which is beautiful but is not done in a sustainable way, for me, has no interest. The same way, a product which is sustainable and it's horrible, it's no interest. So I think it has to go together, no? Or, I mean, to build a building which is not efficient in terms of renewable energy, also for me, has no interest, no? I think the technology exists, we can do it. As I said before, it's probably more complicated, it's probably more expensive, it's probably, but I think it's in the direction we need to go, no?
And now I have a question for you, but it's not mine. It's Paul Watson's question.
Wow.
And you are so lucky to get the Paul question.
Paul Watson question.
So his question is, where do you consider yourself to be in the relationship among all the species on this planet?
It's a very good question. I would feel I'm, no, like part of the same chain, no? At the end, we all need each other, no? Each species brings something to the table. Another species need the next one. So I think we're all interconnected. So I'm just part of the chain, no? One more. And that's why it's dangerous, no? When we hear these species which are disappearing, because we need them, no? Each little species has a goal in the planet.
And now it's your turn. What is your question for the next guest?
We tend to say at ECOALF that sustainability is not about doing many different things, but about doing things differently. No? For this new guest, when and how, when does he think we're going to start by doing things in a different way? And how? What do we need to do to convince people to start doing things in a different way?
Thank you so much, Javier.
Thanks to you.
It was
Pleasure.
very interesting, nice, and with
Thank you
this
very much.
amazing wave sound, I'm sure you can
Beautiful.
hear it. Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you so much, Javier,
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
time. Wow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the ECOALF podcast, Beautiful Stories. Stay tuned for the next one. See you underwater.